Hi, everybody. Welcome to Portia's Place, where you'll never wine alone. I am honored to welcome co owner and proprietor of William Heritage Winery, Penni Heritage. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. For those of you that do not know, William Heritage Winery is the two-time New Jersey Winery of the Year. They were bestowed this honor by the Garden State Wine Growers Association, where they are members. They have received multiple 90-point plus ratings from the likes of James Suckling, Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, and most recently a 93-point rating from Decanter. They are members of the Winemakers Co-op, which is dedicated to driving the fine wine movement in the Garden State. And finally, they are a certified sustainable winery. You've heard all the accolades, but let's talk a little bit about the winery and farm itself. It is a fifth generation owned and operated estate vineyard and winery. Six generations have actually farmed this property since 1853. That's a really long time. We weren't around then. We weren't even a thought then. But this 150-acre estate, which started as apple and peach orchards, is located in Mullica Hill, New Jersey, in the heart of the outer coastal plain. They have a second tasting room location as well in Haddonfield, New Jersey, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, welcome, Penni.
Thank
Welcome,
you.
welcome.
Excited to be here.
Oh, excited to have you. Let's jump right in. So, I know that the estate's in New Jersey, but are you originally from New Jersey, Penni? Were you born in New Jersey?
I was actually born in Newcastle, Delaware, but when I was 4, we moved to New Jersey, but my parents' families are originally from New Jersey.
All right, very good, very good. And so I want to know this. How did you meet Bill? Sorry, y'all. Bill Heritage, her husband. How did you actually meet Bill?
Well, I mean, technically we met in high school,
Okay.
but I needed a summer job in 10th grade, so I asked Bill if they would consider hiring me and my friend
Okay.
for summer jobs, and he kind of chuckled. He's like, "Well, what do you think you're going to do?" And I don't know, whatever you need me to do. So he went through the rusty pruner test, like he told, which was very difficult. But we did many other things as teenagers working on the farm. We had to like physically crawl under apple trees and pick up all the apples into baskets that had fallen on the ground.
Yes.
And put them in bins. So it was, long story short, I was never mind any kind of physical, work.
No, listen, that is true. I'm witness to that myself. I have seen you do things, and it's amazing to me. I have so much respect for you in that sense that there's no job that you won't do. I have watched you firsthand do things, and we're all working, and you're right in there with us. And I love that about you. You can never say that. Customers have been shocked sometimes, and they say something about the owner, and I was like, "Well, there she is, right there."
She just
You mean
cleaned
the
off their
one,
table.
the one working and cleaning off the table? Yeah, that's her. So I will tell you that I am not at all surprised that you are such a hard worker. It's funny. I will mention this to you. I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, but I used to spend every summer with my grandparents. They had a very small farm. It certainly wasn't one that that they were using for to really earn money, but they had a small farm, and they had apple trees and grapevines. But I know when those apples hit the ground, Granny would send me out there with that basket, and I would help them get, potatoes up out of the ground. Like I remember being on that tractor with Granddaddy. I understand those, and those lessons are so important. You don't think it at the time.
Oh, it's
You almost
amazing.
think it's punishment when you're young and doing that. And then when you get older and you realize how important hard work is to be successful in anything. But being out there in that hot sun, picking things up. And I don't know about you, I was always afraid I'd see a snake around somewhere, which is one of my biggest fears in life is snakes. But just, learning those things and being a hard worker, it never leaves you.
No.
It never leaves you. So, well, that's pretty interesting. Now, prior to, we've talked a little bit about this before, but prior to you making wine, what did you do before that? What was your full-time job? What was your career at that time?
So I basically stayed on the farm and worked with Bill's dad through the rest of my high school years.
Okay.
And then we opened a farm market. It all started because Bill's dad planted a patch of strawberries. And we weren't harvesting strawberries,
Right.
just peaches and apples. So we had to open something to sell the strawberries.
Okay.
So at that same location where the winery is, it was just an umbrella and a table. So I would put strawberries on the table and then run back to the field and pick some more and then put more strawberries on the table.
Oh my God.
So I started the farm market sort of as a one-man show.
Wow.
And, working side by side with him was probably a little bit more physical because, we had power pruners then.
Okay.
They're hooked to the tractor and they're big poles and we would power prune all day.
Wow.
All day. And they're not light. So,
No.
but I remember trying to keep up with him.
Of course. Of course. No.
He was kind of my mentor, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's nice. And that's really special. And those memories, that's got to be cool for you.
Yeah.
I have heard more than one person walk into the tasting room and say, first of all, they're stunned by the beauty. When they walk onto that patio and they go, oh my God, I haven't been here in years. Or I remember when this was just a fruit stand and Penny was out front selling fruit. And I was like, I don't remember those times, but I can certainly believe that. It's surprising to people and what the location now it's gorgeous. And to think about you selling fruit like that back in the early days has really, it set the tone though. And people remember that. I think your family is synonymous with hard work and a good product. And I think even if people come in that have moved away and come back and they're visiting or they remember their families or the older family members coming in, they associate you and Bill and your family with a great product and a good family name.
Yeah.
And so even if they don't know how great the wine is going to be, they're going to take a chance and swing in. Even if they're just being nosy, they're going to take a chance and swing in. But then when they see and when they taste, I think it's a whole other thing. It's a whole new experience for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but when Bill and I became like girlfriend and boyfriend, and then we decided to get married and have a family, it wasn't practical for us to, continue to work on the farm because it wasn't going to support two families.
Right.
And Bill's dad was the main, worker there. So we did maintain the farm market, but we also, we got jobs off the farm.
Okay.
So we started to have a family right away. So I was basically cocktail waitressing down the street because we couldn't afford daycare. Like daycare was just, So,
did you hear me say I went to my grandparents every summer?
Yep.
It wasn't. It
That
was.
was your
I mean, it
daycare.
was great, but that was my summer camp. Like that was summer camp. I get it. I get it. Go ahead.
So we did Bill went to work in the morning. I stayed with the kids all day. And as soon as he got home, it was like tag team. I got to go to work, and so I'd waitress till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then we did that for 7 years. We raised pretty much all 3 children in that manner, in the door, out the door. Let me go get produce. And
Yes.
so, but, and then once I guess our youngest Eric was about 2.5, I took the civil service test and I got the job at the post office, and Bill was still at his same job and bringing in all the benefits and things like that. So then I was a roll carrier for the post office for 7 years.
Wow.
And then Bill's dad basically told us that he was retiring. And he said, one of you is going to need to leave your job or I'm selling the farm. And it was just like that, and it was within months.
Wow. So
Yeah.
no more postal
I would say
carrier.
within 60 days he was gone.
Wow.
Yep. So
Wow.
I gave my notice right away, and Bill kept his job because he was making more money than I was, and his benefits were a little better. And
Okay.
you know, and luckily all three kids at that time was in school. So yeah, and it was right about then that we decided to start planting grapes, or how are we going to turn this farm around, you know, and how are we going to stop breaking even every year. And so, but it wasn't grapes right away. I mean, we packed all of our own peaches. We drove them to the city at night. We didn't hire trucking to get them there. Everything that we could do to, you know, keep our own money and not pay it out. Then we started packing fruit for other growers. And hydrocooling fruit for other growers. So all that, it started to, you know, at least give us a little money at the end of the year.
Yes.
And then luckily we went to that conference in Hershey, and they talked about growing grapes. And like I said, Stu was with us at that conference, and we talked about it the whole way home. It was like this revelation of, because, you know, we thought that we couldn't grow grapes. You know, Vineland had failed. They got named Vineland because they were growing all these grapes, but they got some sort of disease which, you know, made us feel like we could never grow grapes again.
I want to ask you something as well. And having three small children and doing just what you said that you did, being there on the farm, do you feel like that gave you more time with your boys when they were little? Were they with you? Were they spending time with you, even though you were like coming in and out of the door? And do you feel as though being on that farm while you were still working afforded you more time with your sons?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, all the times they talk about it all the time, being on the road and picking up produce, and you know, we would throw cantaloupes to each other, you know, off the truck, and you know, and then we'd do something fun. You know, we'd go to the park, because I had a person that would actually stay at the stand. We would fill it and for the day with peaches and all the produce, and then we could go do something once we did our job. We could go to the park, or you know, like I said, McDonald's or Happy Meals were a big thing.
Yes, Happy Meals were everything. They were everything. No, I gotcha. No, interesting. I was just sitting here thinking about that, and I was like, even though you were definitely working full time, more than one job at the time, I would imagine having them there with you on that farm really gave you special time and special moments. Even though you were working, it still gave you that time to be with them. No, absolutely. Well,
and it wasn't a whole lot of choice, you know. It's just honestly, it was our lifestyle.
So tell me this: you've got this fruit stand, and you have this conversation coming back from Hershey, and you decide, you know, we're going to make wine, and we know at this point that was a very successful venture. Like, it worked for you for sure. But you're having that conversation, and you're thinking about, you know, what you're going to do. And were you afraid? Like, were you scared when you were really thinking about, hey, we're gonna plant these grapes and we're gonna make wine? Was it scary for you?
Very scary. I mean, even just to plant the vines. So were we planting 1,500 vines to the acre at the time, or close to it? I mean that was a pretty big outlay of money, and labor to get those vines in was pretty intensive too. And we did everything by hand. You know, we had a lot of the infrastructure, but you know, planting grapes is a little different. Like, we had tractors and things like that. And for us, starting from scratch would have been impossible. But the local newspaper was really good to us. They came out and did articles when we did our first planting. And you got Stu and Oscar with a quad and and a cart on the back of it, standing on the cart, sledgehammering in these posts. And I remember saying to Bill, "Oh my God, I hope OSHA doesn't see that picture." And here it is, right in the front page of the newspaper. It's like Stu's head's like right under Oscar. You know, it was like, oh man.
Listen,
So everything was scary.
yeah.
And
I
then
would
building
imagine.
the tasting room 3 or 4 years after that was, our friends kept saying, "Build it and they will come." I'm like, yeah, well, you're not the one taking the big
This
dive
isn't your
here.
sacrifice, right? We're sacrificing. We're all in on
Yeah.
this. But look, they were right. Looking back at it now, they were right. Build it and they will come, you know, for sure. I'm curious about this. I'd love to know what's a typical day like for you as the owner of William Heritage Winery. What's a day like for you?
Well, Bill and I both say you just got to get out the door, and
Okay.
you got to get out the door early,
Yes.
because people they're looking for you for direction.
Yes.
And now we have more areas. It's not just like get to the packing house. Now it's the field, the packing house, the tasting room is Haddonfield, okay.
Yeah.
So a typical day for me now is different than it was when we started. But now I'm extremely lucky to have the boys to lean on, and
Yes.
Bill, Eric, and Brian probably are the first ones out the door. So the tasting room opens a little later. So I usually I ride around the farm first,
Yes.
because you never know what you're going to see or what you're going to find or who needs help, or is the irrigation hose broke and spewing all over the place. And
Gotcha.
luckily I don't have to fix it now. I just call Bill
You
and
just
say,
reported, hey, something's going on with the irrigation.
yeah.
Fix it.
And checking everything is a big thing, and listening and all of that. And then for me, getting to the tasting room and getting the day started and running them around and picking up supplies that we need. And now a lot of my time is turned into payroll, bookwork, and keeping all that straight. And
Yes.
when I really just need to get back to my roots, I can call Bill. And by the way, a lot of times we don't see each other all day. I mean, it's not like we do work together,
Right.
but we may not see each other till 6 or 7 o'clock at
Dinner
night.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
But I'll just call him and say, I need to be on a tractor just all day. I just, and he'll say, I'll put you on a mower. You can mow this, and this field. And I just get back to my roots and get out of the office and, feel good about that. And
You said something, so let's go back a little. I'm gonna take it back a little. When you all decided that this is gonna work and we're going to make wine, what was your day like then? Now this is the fruit stand's not there anymore, and you are all in on winemaking and producing wine and selling wine. What was your day like that then?
I mean, before Bill came back, so
Yes.
when I left my job, Bill continued to stay at his job for
Yes.
another 7 years.
Wow, 7. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when my father-in-law said that he would come back and help me, but he never came back.
So it was really you all day.
Yeah. And luckily, we had Stu there, and we had some of the guys that had been there a long time. And
Yes.
the Rutgers program helped me get through a lot of the day. They would come out and guide me on, what needed to be done as far as to the fruit. And,
Wow.
yeah. They would tell me like what bugs were out there, and because I didn't have any of that experience. My
Right,
father-in-law always did that.
Wow.
Oh, and we had an uncle that worked for us, and he did a lot of the tractor work, and he would, just maintaining them, greasing them, and keeping them going. And so getting out there very early, getting fruit to the hydrocooler, and packing for other people, and every season was different, whether and then it's year round. It's not like in January and February and March
You're vacationing it's not. So we'll just relax now. Let's open a bottle of that wine. No, it's not like that. There's something to do all the time.
Honestly, we would get to the shore maybe for a vacation once in a while, but our first real vacation away for a week and away I think we went to Mexico or something. I think Rich was 17 years old the first time we did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But I would imagine, like, we're just getting a glimpse, a small glimpse at what it really took to make this business what it is today. And so I would imagine that you can't even think about a vacation because
No.
you can't leave, and who are you leaving?
I learned how to
no
troubleshoot
one.
really well.
Good.
Because I think I still do it today at the tasting room, but sometimes you just get bombarded
Yes.
by things.
Yes.
Hey, the bathrooms broke down, or hey, the
Right.
septic's overflowing, or hey, just anything you can think of, and just okay, just one thing at a time.
Right.
We're gonna get it done.
Yes. And it does, but you're right. I think that is a really important thing. Really being able to troubleshoot, being able to delegate when you can. I would imagine they're all things that you're able to do now. Now, back in the day, you were who you would delegate to. Like, I've got to figure this out, and I've got to make it happen. So I absolutely get that. Interesting. We've talked about your boys being of a certain age and young at that time when you were starting, but I wanted to ask you as well. It's been really neat to see your sisters. I remember your dad being there as a part of the business. What's it like, having family around you so much? We know that your sons are a part of the business and work for it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But what's it been like to have your sisters and at one point have your dad right there with you as well?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, my parents were a big help because my mom didn't work at the time, so
Okay.
she did help us with the boys a lot. She actually liked hanging out at our house.
Okay.
So it wasn't too hard for us to go out and do a job or a project.
Right.
And she would be there to get the boys off the bus or whatever.
Yes. Right.
But and then my dad, before we started the winery, we had a couple of greenhouses to go with the farm market, but he just loved the greenhouses. I mean, he just loved watering the plants and planting and all that. So they ended up, I think, and they were coming into retirement age too, and they ended up spending a lot of time with us. And
Nice.
and then even I think some of our best years with Bill's dad were later on when he would come back to the farm. He had gotten cancer at the time, and so he would come back and spend lengthy amounts of time with us and then go back to West Virginia. But I think they were like our best times with him, not because he was sick, but because we could bond with him at night, eat dinner
Yes,
together, and
yes.
he loved to watch the Phillies game. And I
Yes.
think all that combined with family. And my sister Kim started working with us probably 10 years ago. She was a bus driver, and she had retired.
Okay.
And she was a real asset to the tasting room, because she cared so much.
Yes.
And she's a very hard worker herself.
Yes.
So it's nice to have those types of people.
Absolutely.
And I think my sister Jean, she'll come back for a whole month in September because she lives in Louisiana.
Yes.
So, and she just wants to work with us during the busy season and hang out with us. And
Well, listen, I know the sisters are hanging out for sure, but I will tell you, I love when Jean comes to town.
Yeah.
She's, I'm spoiled. I'm working with Kim all the time in the tasting room, but when Jean comes, it's a special time,
Yeah.
and she has such a good time being there. And when I see. And on those days when you come into and to see the three of you there, and you're behind, the bar in the tasting room, or you're out on the patio and she and Kim are there, it's just, it's a special thing, it really is. And I would imagine, I never met Bill's father, but I would have to imagine, this is just a guess on my part, that, this farm became your farm. Like, his farm became your farm. And for him to come back and see that you all were doing it, like you were making it work and not just getting by. It was you were successful at not just farming, but you were now you were growing this farm in a way, and now you're making wine and you're selling all of this wine.
Yeah.
Like, it had to be such a source of pride for him, but I would imagine it was also so comforting to him that, it was easy for him to come and hang out with you all because he loved seeing where you were
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And I can almost just visualize seeing him, just pride, but also just almost a sense of peace that you all did it. Like, you really did it.
I was a little worried that in the very beginning that of us making wine, because he came from a Quaker family, and we just thought maybe it wouldn't be accepted,
Right.
Because it was an alcohol product
Yes.
and all that. But he actually he had a bad leg because he was ill, but he bought himself a tractor, a hydrostatic tractor, so that he could still work on the farm with one leg.
Wow.
Yeah, a tractor without a clutch, basically.
I got you. Wow.
Yeah, and he did love the wine. He would have a glass of wine with us every night.
Oh,
And
that's
he really was proud of, what was happening.
wow.
I think it gave him a sense of peace to know that
Yeah.
the farm was actually going to continue on when it was, fairly close to being,
We wouldn't be telling the same story about the fifth generation owned and operated. Like, we wouldn't still be talking about the future and your sons and hopefully grandchildren one day. I think that that's so special. I say it all the time. Nothing is more important than family. And I think that, Penny, for you and I, that's just one of the things that connects us, I think, in a way, is because I feel like I always have a story about my family to share with you, or something's going on with my family, and I know how important family is to you and to Bill. And side note, I didn't say this earlier, so we kind of have a live studio audience going right now at Portia's place. So you could see us kind of glancing over to look for facial expressions. We have a guest in the house today. He's not on camera right now, but Bill Heritage is here with us. So we're kind of looking over, and he's shaking his head a little bit, and so it's nice to have them both here. But I do. Family is so important, and I think too that sometimes in life, just I think that with hard work, things can also happen when you have a good family for support. And again, the peace, the joy he must have felt to see that they're not just going to make it, like, they're going to thrive with this farm. It's got to be a great feeling. And I would imagine whatever it is that you decide to do in the future, I would imagine and hope that your sons see things the same way, and you would look at them the same way. And I feel like when they bring different ideas and want to do different things, it's got to bring pride for you as well, because again, it's going back to the family.
Well, they all have different personalities,
Yes.
so it's not everybody's. Of course, it's it is an average family.
Yes, absolutely. All families are that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. So, but we have to respect each other ideas and learn how to not carry things around. You just if you're arguing about something or you don't agree on something. You just have to agree to disagree, and you just have to move on. You just can't hold on to it.
You gotta let it go, or brush your shoulders off. After a while, you just gotta kind of brush it off and let it go, because at the end of the day, you're family.
Yeah.
And you're going to be together, and you're going to work together. So I get it. I'm gonna take a quick pause because I always feature a wine during an episode of Portia's Place, and I'm going to do things a little bit differently with this. I'm going to just mention that today's wine and what we're tasting in this episode is going to be your Jersey Peach. Now, first of all, let me say this. Shout out to your son who handles marketing and labels. What a gorgeous label this is. I mean, I love this. I love the large letters. So Jersey, very prominent on the label. Peach, you can tell that because there's obviously a peach on it. I hope you all can see this when you're watching this episode. But this is a wine from your Jersey wine line. And what I will say about this wine is, if you want to have a glass of a fresh Jersey peach, locally grown, this is what you need to pour in your glass, because I have never tasted a peach wine as spot on as this. It's just fresh peaches in a glass is what it tastes like. And it's delicious, it's refreshing, it's crisp. You taste some of those citrus notes in there too, but this is peaches all day. And I love the fact as well that, and something I want to mention, no matter what your taste is in wine, there's something for you at William Heritage Winery. So for all of my viewers out there that love sweet wine and love peaches, Jersey Peach is for you. It retails at $14 a bottle. And there are a few ways that you'll be able to purchase this, and we'll talk about that later on. But we're going to be sipping on a little Jersey Peach today. Penny, anything you want to add about this right now?
It just brings back a memory.
And that's okay.
I just remember the first time we made it, and as you can imagine, peaches are so meaty,
yes,
and whatnot. And if you can imagine, like a big bin full of peaches and fermenting and everything,
yes,
and we would punch down. They had a solid cap on it because, like I said, there's so much
yes,
pithiness in there and everything. But I just remember trying to filter it. Stu and I thought we were going to filter it one night after work, and I don't know what time we were there till, but it had to be 3-4 o'clock in the morning. We could not get this through the filter. I just remember, of course we have much better ways of doing it now, but it was, pretty much a nightmare.
Well, listen, it's not a nightmare anymore.
No.
And I will tell you that even the glass approaching my nose, it's peaches. And it's so good. I'm not here to make cocktails out of your wine, but I will tell you this. It's nice adding a little Prosecco to this sometimes too. It gives it a little fuzz, a little fizz. For those that may not like something as sweet, it kind of cuts it a little bit too, just to speak in layman's terms. And I enjoy it. It's good. It's refreshing. Customers love this wine.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the statistics in your sales, but I would imagine Jersey Peach sells a lot.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. It's about to be warm. I can just see them out there now. Jersey Peach, Jersey Peach, Jersey Peach. So it's a win for sure if you're a sweet wine lover.
It's part of our legacy. I
Yes.
think it represents us, and the sweetness in this wine is just to represent a peach, not any sweeter, not any drier.
Right.
So, and it smells like a peach and it tastes like a peach.
It's peachy.
Yeah.
It's peachy. It's peachy. All right, so very good. Jersey Peach. It's another good one from the William Heritage Winery portfolio. So we're going to stay on the wine for a little bit. Is there a wine that you would love to produce that you currently do not?
Well, as Pinot Noir was one of the wines I really wanted to produce, because Bill and I had we had a friend, Carl Hudson, who was really into Pinot Noirs, and we did a trip to Oregon with him. We went to a lot of the top wineries, and we met a lot of the wine. So we got kind of connected to it a little bit, and then when we planted we always start with a small block of, if we're not familiar with growing the grape, but it became a huge disappointment that we could not ripen Pinot Noir. It can't hold up to the humidity. So, but then, hence the sparkling program, just pick it early and make a different wine.
It's a win.
Yeah. So we kind of just overcame that. And, but now we have so many varieties in the ground, and some of them I'm learning about. Like, I didn't know a lot about Simeon, a Ratatelli, Ristastelli, or I can't even pronounce it. We have that in the ground now, and I don't know much about that at all. So, I'm just learning a lot. I didn't know a lot about Chenin Blanc. Um, so a lot of the varieties we're learning a lot about, and I love them all. I mean, there isn't one I really don't like at all.
No, I got you on that. Well, what's your favorite? What is your favorite William Heritage wine?
Could you guess that? Definitely the Gravel Block Chardonnay.
Yes. That's a good one. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. You and your sister have that in common.
Yes.
You love a fabulous Chardonnay, and Gravel Block is definitely one. What's your favorite non-William Heritage Winery wine? What's a go-to for you if you're gonna buy a bottle of anything that's not your own?
I'm a big fan of the Sonoma Cutrer Chardonnay.
Okay.
It's just always right up my alley. If the restaurant has it, I go for it. And we probably, I would say almost always have at least a bottle or two in the house.
Nice.
It's just such a good go-to wine. It's not awfully expensive. It can range anywhere from $25 to $30.
Okay.
But it's just sort of a go-to Chardonnay for me.
I like it. Very good. That's interesting. I like that. I'm gonna have to try that one day for sure. I'm gonna have to get out there and find one
Yep.
that I like. All right. So, Penny, I'd like to know what's your favorite thing to do on your day off?
It's so funny, you think I love to go to the shore.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like our little getaway. But if I'm at home and I have a day off, yesterday I had a half a day off. We worked a half a day so that we could spend today with you.
I'm so honored. I mean it.
Yeah.
I mean it. I appreciate you.
And I actually planted the wildflowers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, planning, that's something that you definitely enjoy doing on your day off.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, because planting wildflowers isn't like gonna make me any money. It's like that's almost like a side job on the farm. But I just like to plant. I like the garden around the house, and because honestly, it's hard for us to do our chores domestically.
Yeah, I would imagine.
If I even just clean up the pool area, which is my goal in the next few weeks, so we can open our pool,
Yes.
which is a job.
Yeah.
So it's an all-day job.
Right.
So that'll be a day off job.
And planting those wildflowers, I can't help but think about you sharing how your dad loved to be in the greenhouse and planting. So it sounds like that's something that you picked up from him. I think
Yeah.
that's a really
Well, it
cool
wasn't.
thing.
I mean, Bill actually planted them for me,
Okay.
and he started it. So, but now we just can't stop. And so, if he's too busy, then I'll plant
You'll
them.
plant them. I
yeah.
got you. Okay. I got you. That's fair. That's fair.
Our church is right around the corner too, and so we plan a plot for them because if somebody doesn't have flowers on the altar that Sunday, she'll be like, "I'm gonna come cut some wildflowers." I'm like, "Please do."
Please do. We planted them. They're there for you.
Yeah.
Like, cut them. That's awesome. You and Bill have such a great sense of community as well. We don't talk about that enough. I know it's funny. Like sometimes I love when, and this is just a personal thing, like I love when you bring the little lunches in from the church, the meatball subs and the chips and the cookies, but your sense of community, people even stop by and they're like, well, this is something that they know about, they've helped us with this for years. And I'm like, sure, we'll take it. But it's not just your estate. It's everything around you and how you're such a part of the community. Like I'm not surprised when you talked about the newspaper, or in another episode with us talking about the radio station and reporting certain things. Like people want to support you. You're such a part of that community and an important part of that community. You employ people in that community. You give to the community. So it's so admirable. And I do wish you more days where you have a little more time to plant those wildflowers, All right. So last thing I want to ask you, and I've asked this in another episode, but Penni Heritage, what do you want your legacy to be?
I mean, I know I repeat this a lot, but just for the family to stay intact with the farm in their lives, like as a whole.
Yes.
And I honestly think at this point it would be tough for our kids to get away from that lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
Yes.
So we need to make money to maintain this, lifestyle of living on a farm. And we get our little metal detectors, and I can take my buggy around and grab the grandkids, because today we all live on the farm.
Yes.
Yeah, all four families.
Yes.
So they're all within a very close reach. We have little golf carts, and we ride around and meet each other, and I can pick the grandkids up for church. I only got one grandkid yesterday for church, but sometimes they have other things to do. But we do vacation Bible school, and I'll go around and pick up, only 4 of them are old enough to do it right now, but I mean, pretty soon there's going to be 8.
8. Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And special. I love that you have family dinner. I love that. I truly love your sense of family. And so I have a feeling that your legacy will definitely live on. It would be hard not to. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to share one story, and then I'm going to wrap up. So I don't expect you to remember this, but this is when you had me. This is when I was all in on Penni Heritage. I was coming to a wine festival, and I had we had VIP tickets, so we were coming in, and we had our tents, and we had a wagon pulling everything, and we were like so excited to get in early and set up. And you were there working, like something was going on, and you were working on something. And I was just so excited. And I had my wine club member glass, because of course we got the bigger glasses, right? And I was walking in, and my mom was with me. Some friends were already with me. And I was like, "Hey, Penny." And you turned around and you said, "Hey, Travita." And they were like, "She knows your name." And I was like, "Of course she knows my name." But no, I didn't say that. But it didn't matter how you knew. Look, you could have turned around and be like, "Wait, what's her name?"
I'm terrible with names, but I'll never forget Travita Fentress.
But listen, you turned around and you were like, "Hey, Travita." And then somebody that didn't know, they were like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "The owner." But I just remember thinking, and you probably will never, ever, like if I hadn't brought that up, I felt so special that day because I admired you so much. And I didn't know any other women who owned wineries or was doing the things that you were doing. And you've always been so kind, stop and take a picture and this and that. But that day when you said my name, I was like, I've arrived. Penni knows my name. Yeah. But it was special to me because it made me feel as though, and I wasn't even working for you then. I was just a customer and wine club member, but I felt so very special. And I felt that it was like my aha moment that I'm in the right place because she knows my name. It's not an easy name either, but I just felt like this is what this place is about. It's special. I could go to a million places a bunch of times, and while they may recognize my face, they may never. And listen, everybody, don't expect Penni to always know your name when she sees you. Okay, like fall back. But it was special to me that you did know my name, and that I felt like I was a part of something really special, even just as a customer and a wine club member. So I thank you for that. I thank you for always just being a light and bringing such knowledge and hard work and yet grace with you whenever I see you. So thank you for being here today. I appreciate the sacrifice more than you'll ever know. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being such an ambassador.
I am for you all.
Every weekend. Is Travita here this weekend?
Look, when I wasn't gonna be at work this past weekend, Kim was like, "You're not working next weekend." I was like, "No, but I'll be there for the oyster and bubbly event, so it's gonna be a good time Friday night for sure." So listen, we're gonna wrap up with May's message for today, and I think it's so appropriate. I have a quote, and it says, "Success is not about being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It's about making the most of the opportunities you have and working hard to create more." This was a quote by actually Oprah Winfrey, but I think it's so appropriate for our discussion and for you. Like the way, Penny, that you and your husband, but the way that you have taken this opportunity with this farm and with the peaches and the apples and just turn this land into something not just for the two of you, but for generations to come. And the way that you create more opportunities from trying new things and being creative and being willing to take chances, sensible chances, but being willing to take those chances and just creating more opportunities, even for people like myself who aren't a part of your family, but we benefit from the things you offer us opportunities to be our best selves in other ways. So thank you for that. I think it's something that we should always remember, that make the most of our opportunities and find ways to create more. So cheers to you. Cheers to William Heritage Winery. Welcome to Portia's Place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Never wine alone.